Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the finest thing to hit the internet since Charlie Zelenoff.
He's done.
It's the Bob Loblaw Show.
You don't need double talk. You need Bob Loblaw.
I am your sexually enhanced announcer, Bovon Fingerman, and I just finished crafting a life-sized replica of Howard the Duck.
Tommy used to work on the dock.
Now, please give a bankrupt hello to our special guests, Shania and Mark Twain.
I'm tired of getting bit by these rats, y'all.
Sweet dirty Lord in heaven, why aren't we getting more subs?
Yeah, it's because your voices are annoying.
My voice ain't annoying. Your voice is annoying.
And now, dear lowlifes, please welcome your humble host. His favorite rock band of all time is Hootie and the Blowfish. It's Bowel Jammin' Buckley.
Where's the booze?
Every passing day is more nightmarish than the last. Okay, gang, we already reviewed the original Gremlins movie back in December, so today's movie is the great Joe Dante's 1990 sequel, Gremlins 2, The New Batch.
Okay, Barry, get them flabby jowls of yours under control and give them some production context.
Yeah, a lot of you deadbeats probably already know the story, but Joe Dante wasn't all that interested in making a sequel to the original Gremlins. Faced with increasing pressure from the studio, he eventually caved and decided to make a more lighthearted sequel that actually pokes fun at the original. He even manages to poke some fun at himself.
What?
In fact, old Sloppy Joe lured famed animator Chuck Jones out of retirement in order to animate this little sequence at the beginning of the movie.
You may expect to hear from my attorneys.
And in order to break down this little gem, we're gonna invoke the expertise of some lucky asswipe who got to study with Chuck Jones. Lowlives, I'd like you all to welcome the guy who is directly responsible for ruining the Sega Dreamcast.
Barry, don't act like that affected you, bro. You know you couldn't afford a Dreamcast.
Ah, goddammit. Well, he really did bankrupt the Dreamcast.
Does he have a big old hog?
Yeah, link in description, asswipes. Okay, let's hear from Mr. Neal Bauer.
Billy.
Goddammit,
Billy,
Barry.
Barry, that's right, Barry. Yes, I did train under Chuck Jones. I met him when I was a young boy at 12 years old at Carnegie Mellon University. And then again, when he donated his Warner Brothers animation stands to my university and got his honorary doctorate, I knew and learned under Chuck Jones. Steven Spielberg was a huge fan of Chuck Jones, so much so that he wrote the foreword of his book, Chuck-a-Muck, The Life and Times of the Animated Cartoonist, Chuck Jones. Chuck Jones was in the original Gremlins. He was in the bar at the beginning. His name was Mr. Jones. Chuck Jones showed Billy one of the drawings that he was making of like the mayor of the town, and it was a caricature, which is also very funny because Chuck Jones was a big, huge advocate for caricature. He loved caricature. Chuck Jones was also a big fan of Mark Twain.
Hey-o!
He never mentioned Shania.
That's some bullshit.
And so he recommended all animators be familiar with Mark Twain and his works. He considered one of the greatest writers of the 20th century. So Steven Spielberg brought Chuck Jones into the first Gremlins just as a cameo, just to get a piece of artwork maybe. But that would open up the work with Joe Dante and Gremlins 2, where he was asked back to do the intro for Gremlins 2. And that was at a very interesting time with him and Warner Brothers because there was some animosity going there. So that is a fascinating arc, which we don't have the time and you don't have the budget to pay for right now.
That'll do, Neal. Don't get cocky, asswipe. Oh, Barry's still in charge here.
Well, I'm sure this is a hot take, but I actually prefer Gremlins 2 to the original.
Yeah, so do a lot of people, including Joe Dante. So your hot take is about as spicy as a glass of skim milk, you little shit.
Barry, what would you know about skim milk, bro?
Yeah, piss off, Barry. Don't try to be all pretentious. I've seen you eat ranch dressing straight from the bottle.
Yeah, get to the movie, Barry.
Okay, so the shtick is that Billy Boy Peltzer and his love lady Kate have moved to the Big Apple, where they'd taken up a couple of shit-ass jobs at the Clamp Corporation.
Which is run by this Mr. Clamp dickhead, played brilliantly by John Glover and his big-ass veneers.
Yeah, you might remember this fella from our review of Scrooged.
Hey, isn't Clamp supposed to be a satire of
Yeah, but we're not gonna dwell on that little detail because half the country is still happily guzzling the... they're guzzling the...
Circus peanuts?
No, that's too close to a bit by Patton Oswalt.
My ass is like a tube of circus peanuts. I don't even feel it. I don't care.
No, I guess it's more like guzzling Tang. Remember Tang?
I like Tang.
Yeah, see my point? And the connections become even more eerie if you watch the deleted scenes.
I've been thinking Mr. Clamp would make a great president.
Yeah, bro, this movie is at least as good as Idiocracy in terms of predicting the future. We've even got this fourth wall break by the Hulkster.
Do you think the Grimsters can stand up to the Hulkster?
Come on, Barry. You can't deny the Clamp Hulk connection, you saggy, fat-faced bag of hippopotamus spunk.
It must have taken a long time for Joe Dante to edit out all the Hulk Hogan N-bombs.
Isn't he Secretary of Defense or some shit?
Nah, man, you're thinking of Sensei Seagal.
Yeah, but let's remember that the Clamp character also has elements of Ted Turner. For example, the Doomsday tape that Clamp plays at the end of the movie refers to a tape that old Teddy allegedly kept on hand at CNN in case the world ended.
We hope you have enjoyed our programming, but more importantly, we hope you have enjoyed life.
Well, don't forget that Clamp is also colorizing old movies, just like Ted Turner.
Don't miss Casablanca, now in full color.
Yeah, look, I mean, Ted Turner was a fucking nutcase, but at least he was kind of fun about it, which is evident by virtue of the fact that so many TV shows and movies parodied him.
For years, we broadcasters have butchered old movies. We've colorized them, we've dubbed in lines like, frankly, Scarlett, I don't give a ham.
All hail Duke. Duke is life. All hail...
Sir, the polls show you're doing great with voters across the board, except women.
Anyway, although the Clamp character was originally positioned as the villain, later versions of the script managed to punch up John Glover's effortless charisma.
Developer saves city. I like that.
I love this little scene where he uses the secret elevator.
Meanwhile, the dick-wiggling villain dynamic was passed along to friend of the show, Robert Picardo, who plays Bill Forster.
It looks like somebody hasn't read his employee manual.
Yeah, but Robert Picardo is not a friend of the show, Bovan.
Sure he is. We've sung this guy's praises left and right. He played Meg Mucklebones, for Christ's sake.
Who needs this tender morsel?
Plus, he was Johnny Cab in Total Recall.
We hope you enjoyed the ride.
And the cowboy in Inner Space, another Joe Dante classic.
That still doesn't make him a friend of the show, you fucking idiots. Friendship has to be reciprocal.
Yeah, and you're forgetting Picardo was also in Star Trek Voyager, Barry. You cheese-stinking, gingivitis-having motherfucker.
I didn't mention Star Trek because I'm not a goddamn nerd, Marco. Anyway, listen. This truly is a movie that delivers pitch-perfect satire. Even the building is bursting with character.
Hey, pal, I sure hope you wash those hands.
And one of our favorite parts in this movie is this bit where Billy Boy's boss tries to bang him inside this kooky Canadian-themed restaurant. And to help us unpack this scene, I guess we'll bring back our special guest, Mr. Neal Bauer. You think you're better than me, Neal? Goddamn smartass.
First off, the restaurant is full of these taxidermied animals, like so much that it's very difficult for people to get around. And then they sit the couple down at a table with this massive animal head between them where they can't even have a conversation. Like a quarter of the table is taken up. There's so much satire going on in this movie. Like, again, why a Canadian themed restaurant? But here's the other part. That scene was built.
Hey, Neal!
But had to be taken down. And later, that same area was used to have ex-NFL football player Dick Butkus get strangled or choked to death by the salad gremlin. which is another like layered freaking satirical piece. Why would this football player be eating at the salad bar and then get it killed by his salad? It's so freaking bonkers.
Neely.
Barry, who's this geezer yelling at me right now?
Are you gonna ruin the Switch 2 the way you ruined the Dreamcast?
No, Nintendo's doing a pretty good job of that on their own.
That's a bad Neal.
Naughty Neal!
I want my Zelda.
Ooh, Neal, talking that
Yeah,
shit.
shut the hell up, Bovan. I am not buying you a Switch 2 for Christmas. Now let the man cook.
But Gremlins 2 follows in line with like the UHF and RoboCop movies of that same era where things are so far spoofed that it's hard to even like, why were they even making movies like this? It was like, it was a farce of a spoof of a...
Neal, did I mention that Marco blew all our ad money on a life-sized version of Castle Grayskull?
God damn it!
Bro, that's the best purchase we've ever made in this household.
Help us, Neal!
Oh, but there are tropes all over this movie, from like the music strikes to the red-haired girl stereotype that was all over the place, from Big to like, I feel that other movies like Spy Kids borrowed from this. Like even the backgrounds where like Billy has a bunch, he's like, the workplace is making him sick. They don't even talk about it, but he has medicines all over his desk. Like he is not well. New York City is a dump. There are dogs eating garbage in the street. And like, why in the hell are there mimes coming out of a security van?
Yeah, bro, it was fashionable to hate mimes in the 90s. Get it together, Bauer.
The only reason I agreed to do this is because you said your channel had around 15,000 subs, and I do not, unless I have the wrong address here, I don't see that.
Now, Neal, calm them nuts. As soon as Bovan's social security check comes in, we're gonna buy all the subscribers we need. It's what the pros do.
Well, I thought this would be some good exposure for what I'm doing over on my channel.
Yeah, I guess it's all about you. You know, Barry's the one who's bankrupt over here.
That's great. No, I really got to go. Listen, I got to take this, Barry.
No, this ain't over.
We'll settle up in court. All right.
Yeah, that's all the time we got for Mr. Bauer, folks. Be sure to subscribe to his goddamn channel. He talks about video games and other cool shit, and he makes great cartoons.
And he's also got a nice rumper.
That can is spectaculario.
Hey, Barry, why come Neal Bauer's cartoon characters look so much better than we do?
What the shit is that supposed to mean?
So this movie predicts the rise of technologies like Siri and Alexa pretty accurately.
Bill, there is nothing we can't do in this building. Why?
Siri can piss right off. In this house, we use Marv, who's far more affordable. Marv, tell Bovan to stop drinking my Clamato.
Hey, Bob Fat Goldthwait, why don't you rest that tummy? Nobody's drinking your goddamn Clamato.
Why would I drink that shit, Barry? Tastes like a rotten clam took a diseased piss onto a plate of spaghetti, then poured it all into a used ashtray.
Yeah, that's exactly why you would drink it. Asswipe.
Barry, maybe you should stop throwing out accusations and start laying off the Pop-Tart sandwiches.
Barry, this movie also prefigures the rise of huge conglomerates like Amazon. You know, this clamp place has its own TV network, not to mention a genetic research facility, just like Amazon has its own streaming service, and now they're trying to break into the health provider market.
The gene splicing lab is run by the late Christopher Lee, who plays Dr. Catheter.
Just rabies. I've got rabies.
But, Jesus, snail-trailing Christ. His character is named Dr. Catheter?
Hey, you know, they can't all be winners, Barry. Satire is a difficult art form. But this movie has a shitload of genuinely funny moments.
Did she say they're rats?
No, she said there's no rat.
Oh shit, Barry, that's Lisa Mende.
Yeah. Oh, wait, are the peanut butter cups so natural?
She plays the mom in Scrooge.
A movie that also features John Glover.
Anyway, if you revisit this movie, you'll catch a number of tasty connections to other movies and TV series. In a showcase of cruelty, Picardo's Forster fires Henry Gibson.
You're gone. Terminated. End of medical benefits.
Hey, Barry, that's a lot like what happened to you in real life.
Piss off, Bovan. Anyway, you might remember Henry Gibson from other Joe Dante films. including inner space.
I just hate to see you throw it all away by going psycho on us.
And the burbs.
You stole one of my skulls, didn't you?
Meanwhile, these two dorks who run Dr. Catheter's genetics lab are played by Dawn and Dan Stanton,
How's the cloning work coming along?
Really well, Doctor.
whom you might remember from Terminator 2. And before, he was terrifying us all as Tuco Salamanca from Breaking Bad and Sniper from Training Day.
Man, I had my shit washed in, bro, big time.
Yeah, so before all that, Raymond Cruz was delivered a bunch of shit-ass Amazon packages to the Clamp building in Gremlins 2. And in yet another case of Breaking Bad cross-pollination.
I had something better to do. And everyone's staring at me hanging here like Kim's ballsack.
The trigger-happy cop who shows up at the end of Gremlins 2 is played by none other than Dean Norris.
What's happening? Move, sir.
Bro, that's not him.
It is him. Look at those goddamn square teeth.
And this here is the stepdad of Hobbit King Sean Astin.
I'm not being paranoid. The guy's after my job.
Yeah, but more importantly, he played Gomez from the Munsters, alongside this old TV show host guy Fred, who played the grandpa.
Yeah, and Joe Dante has a bit of fun with that detail at the end of the movie.
Think about sweaters. Think avuncular. Yeah, avuncular. Oh.
Frankly, there are too many clever references and cameos for us to cover here. So, as you probably guessed, the Gremlins are gonna run amok inside the Clamp building, and the story won't really be satisfying if it's Billy's fault. So in the sequel, the gene splicing asswipes are responsible for capturing Gizmo, whose caretaker, Mr. Wing, has expired.
Billy manages to smuggle Gizmo out of the research lab, but predictably, Gizmo's cow-eyed little ass manages to get wet.
Gizmo gives birth to these asshole mogwais: George, Lenny, Mohawk, and Daffy.
Yeah, apparently George's face was modeled after Edward G. Robinson, who was known for playing mafia-type characters. Lenny and George always appear together because their names are a kind of half-hearted reference to the Steinbeck novel of Mice and Men.
I got you.
And I got you, George. That's what that gives a hoot and hell about us.
That's why Lenny's such a dipshit. And the Mohawk Mogwai is basically a reskin version of Stripe from the original. And Daffy, well, see, Daffy's brain is kind of like Bovon's brain because...
Ah! Jesus, monkey stuffing Christ! Just look at this precious little shit. Barry, can we get one? My bovometer is soaring to new heights.
God damn it, no. You didn't take care of the last pet you brought home, and now we got a bunch of gremlin knockoffs running around. Yeah, they're all just a humping and a pissing in old Barry's bed. Anyway, Kate mistakes Daffy for Gizmo, and hilarity ensues.
Ha! Woo! This is classic stuff.
Settle the fuck down, Bovon. You geriatric menthol-smelling bag of nut dust. It's not even that funny.
I wonder if Sam Rockwell cites this little guy as an inspiration.
Anyway, the Mogwais make their inevitable transformation into full-fledged gremlins and run amok on Clamp's version of Binging with Babish.
Hey, Microwave Marge is also the supermarket lady from Inner Space.
Another Joe Dante movie.
The special effects are obviously more advanced in this version. We get more impressive range of motion and articulation from the creatures.
And Gizmo has even learned a few dance moves.
But he's also learned a lesson or two about steroids and war-themed movie violence.
Survive a war, you gotta become war.
Clamp's genetic research lab becomes integral to the story because the Gremlins decide to chug a bunch of the gene serums to develop special powers. See, this little crazy asshole turns into a bat. which is likely a nod to the fact that Christopher Lee once played Dracula in a 1958 movie of the same name. And since the 1989 Batman is a Warner Brothers property, Joe Dante gotta pay respect to the Bat Shrine.
Yo, Fat Barry, I got a question about this little dentist scene with the Daffy Gremlin. Is it safe? I mean, why come this bit got referenced the following year in that Hot Shots movie?
Is it safe?
Because the early 90s coincided with a rash of unexplained deaths involving folks who went in for routine root canals.
No, Barry. Your brain is all glued up with cheese curds and microplastics. Both Gremlins 2 and Hot Shots are making reference to the 1976 thriller Marathon Man, starring Dustin Hoffman.
Is it safe?
Yes, it's safe. It's very safe. It's so safe you wouldn't believe it.
Is it safe?
Piss off, Bovon. Goddamn know-it-all. So another one of these shit-ass gremlins drinks a brain serum and suddenly becomes one of those NPR talking guys.
The Geneva Convention Chamber Music, Susan Sontag.
My favorite of the bunch might be this bit where Mohawk drinks the arachnid serum and morphs into this badass dark-sided spider. And Little Gizmo kind of presupposes the character arc of Michael Douglas from Joel Schumacher's 1993 thriller, Falling Down.
But aim first, man.
Okay. I don't know. I guess they pushed him too far.
Yeah, but you gotta admit they jumped the shark here, Barry. One of the gremlins drinks an electricity serum.
So that one's a bit much? What about the goddamn kale salad gremlin?
Yeah, I think maybe that's part of the satire. I mean, even the gremlin seems disappointed with its own existence.
And then it's sort of like the Smurfs, I guess. 'Cause we got all these gremlins that scan as male, yet there's this one hyper-feminine one.
Hey, Barry takes home gremlins that don't look half as hot as that old gal.
Yeah, look, I think Key and Peele were pretty much right on the money when they made that Gremlins 2 sketch.
Gremlin, Spider Gremlin, Bat Gremlin, Lady Gremlin, Googly Eye Gremlin, Electricity Gremlin, Hulk Hogan's gonna be in the picture. I'm gonna throw in a gremlin myself.
Anyway, we get this whole Looney Tunes-ish musical number thing, but I want to spend a moment dilating on this whole Rambo conceit, because it actually reveals how...
Bad Barry!
Time to get paid!
Okay, gang. I'm told there's a loneliness epidemic.
A lonely what?
Yeah, people are lonely. I guess the loneliness issue doesn't apply to us here at the channel.
Yeah, bro. I'd actually love it if you dumb cunts would leave the apartment more often.
Anyway, in addition to the loneliness, folks are also losing their scientific literacy at an alarming rate.
And this one goes in your butt.
Hurry up, asshole!
Fortunately, our good friends at Poorhaus have answered all of our bankrupt prayers by creating underlings. Each set of underlings comes with its own durable borosilicate terrarium, a miniature enrichment center, and of course a whole load of tiny underlings. And these little folks are endlessly entertaining.
So I guess these little figures are controlled by magnets, or?
No magnets, you little shit licker! Underlings are teeny-weeny humans with their own little bitty hearts and little bitty colons, and of course their own little bitty dreams and desires and mental disorders.
Yeah, but how can they be human if...
Well, of course they're a little denser than the average human. I mean, their brains are the size of a goddamn peppercorn. But you'd be shocked. The average underling is still far more articulate and sound-minded than the average TGI Fridays patron. Anyway, order your own underlings today, my dearest cretins. Gather all your illegitimate kiddos and watch as a family while your underlings go about their sad and profoundly limited lives with grim determination.
Just like us!
Pay witness as your underlings struggle with the meaning of it all, only to conclude quite rationally that there must exist somewhere in the universe malevolent forces beyond their tiny control. Giggle sadistically as they cry over their pathetic addictions, their bitter divorces, their dead-end jobs and abandoned dreams.
Well, Jesus, whale tailing Christ. This is getting downright disturbing, Bovon.
You sick old sheep-shagging bag of piss.
Perhaps I'm oversharing, but I like to make my underlings fight a bunch of centipedes and scorpions and whatnot. That way I can find out who's the mightiest tiny of all.
If we weren't all broker than a goddamn art school dropout, I'd put you back in therapy, Bovon.
Grandpa fucking Machiavelli over here.
Okay, folks, the promo code is MicroPsycho.
Game on!
As for the plot of this movie, I'd say it's fairly satisfying with just enough complication to make it land.
Yeah, the initial plan is to trick the Gremlins into thinking it's nighttime. Then, just as the little bastards are heading out for tickets to the Museum of Sex, old Clampy Clamp will drop the shade and the sunlight will fry him.
Unfortunately, I guess Clamp's stupid-ass smart building forgot to give him the weather report. So they gotta get creative. But the interesting thing is that, unlike the real-life billionaire asswipe real estate moguls, the Clamp guy isn't hopelessly out of touch with reality.
Barry, what the shit you talking about? Look carefully, and you'll see that this dickhead's office is literally above the clouds.
Yeah, I'm just saying he seems to have become a more complicated character by the time the movie ends.
For another, maybe it wasn't a place for people, anyway. It was a place for things.
Yeah, well, his narcissism's still got more layers than Barry's ass fat.
The sacrifice. You know, that could be good in my next book.
Okay, Al, it's your turn. Lecture to us like we're all a bunch of shit-ass middle schoolers.
Ah, yes, Gremlins 2, the new batch. A madcap sequel at first blush, yet beneath its chaotic sheen lies a shimmering metaphor for the utter derangement that defines our modernity. Clamp Center, that towering totem of status and self-importance, becomes here an elegant prison, an automated monument to our delusional mechanisms of control. Inside, screens flicker, displays glow, closed-circuit cameras drink up photonic data, and of course commerce ebbs and flows.
Yet, introduce just one doe-eyed little mogwai, and far too easily, these delicate exchanges are thrown into utter disarray. One might say the building is not malfunctioning, it is in fact revealing its innermost nature.
Enter the Gremlins, not merely creatures of mischief, but archetypes of what Freud referred to as the id. Like the trickster gods of ancient myth, these little green shit-kickers disrupt precisely those systems that we believe to be wholly foolproof. Their presence reminds us that the universe is not a senseless machine to be overhauled and mastered, but a dance of polarities, order and chaos, light and shadow. To repress the Gremlins, to ignore them, is to forget that the impulse toward destruction is always paired with creation. They go together like peanut butter and lemons, I suppose. You see, this whole saga represents a cycle, not a glitch. In this sense, the film invites us to laugh not at the Gremlins, but with them, for they are the force of entropy that Clamp and his proverbial china shop crave so desperately, if only on an unconscious level. And as the Clamp Center devolves into disorder, we glimpse a truth that was previously obscured. There is little glory to be had in trying to outgrapple a tempest. We'd be far wiser to ride its winds toward safer harbors. And that's precisely why the Fred character survives the preponderance of gremlin-based chaos. Rather than trying to destroy the creatures, he tries first to understand them.
Creature, what is it that you want?
That said, this movie was a little too cartoonish for yours truly. I much prefer the stark terror of the original Gremlins. Back to you, BoJack Horseman.
Okay, smartasses, that's all we got for now. Tune in next time. We're gonna live stream every episode of that Chris Elliott sitcom from the 90s. Stand in the place where you live. Yeah, remember that? Yeah, it's not AI, asswipes. This was an actual show. And then Shania's gonna teach us all how to save a bundle by building our own commuter airplane from common household materials. Just like those little asshole kids from the Radio Flyer movie. Except our version's gonna be a little more adventurous. God damn it! Bank, you son of a bitch, no!
Well, bad news, Barry. You overdrafted again. No more OnlyFans, you putz.
I will not panic, I will not panic, I will not panic! Lady, I did not take a dump in your purse. It was the goddamn cat. Yeah, I'm sweating my little green nuts off. Come on, asswipe.
Do we have a problem communicating?
Maybe.
You're gone.
Oh, Barry's in
End
trouble.
of medical benefits. That's right.
Barry, Bumpa Dumpa, is it safe?
Is it what?
Yeah, so, is it safe? I'm supposed to ask you that.
Yeah, I don't know anymore, Beaufon. It probably isn't very safe, but you're the cheapest goddamn dentist in town. Now hit me with the chloroform!
This Sunday!
What if death is nothing but sound?
Announcing your plans is a good way to hear God laugh.
Vaya con Dios.